As a general rule, people have a low tolerance for weak writing and downright hate plot holes. But given that I've spent so many years analyzing and loving Akira Toriyama's Dragon Ball, lately I found myself exploring these cracks in the story profoundly interesting. They say that you can learn a lot from studying your own mistakes, so perhaps I might be able to learn even more by studying a great storyteller's mistakes and weaknesses too. In my last video, I outlined some of my favorite plot holes, inconsistencies, and narrative contrivances from Dragon Ball, and this week, I want to take that one step further by going through each of these creatively weak choices or accidental slip-ups in order to see what it might have been like to be Akira Toriyama in those situations, and through using more than 20 years of hindsight, see if we can come up with a better solution. Now, at this juncture, you might be asking yourself, how is that any different from rewriting an arc? Well, unlike your standard rewrite or what if, any change I make to the story in this video cannot impact the surrounding narrative. Take Frieza's training in Resurrection F, for example. In a few months, Frieza managed to become thousands of times stronger. This was a seemingly harmless decision, but it fundamentally changed how we thought about the Namek Saga. You see, in Dragon Ball Z, Frieza was terrified of an invincible Super Saiyan rising up against him and thus took precautions to prevent such an eventuality from taking place. This made sense in a world where Frieza couldn't get hundreds of times stronger with little effort. However, because of Resurrection F, we now need to ask, if Frieza was so scared of the Super Saiyan rising up, why did he never train? I mean, he's capable of that, right? And so, in one sentence, Frieza sort of transformed from a compelling paranoid tyrant archetype into a procrastinator of the highest order at worst. One who would rather risk being killed than put in a single day's worth of effort, apparently. So, here's my solution. Give Frieza a time chamber. His crew could have found it while he was dead, and it gives him a realistic means of catching up with Goku. All the while, the rest of the plot of the film remains unchanged. So, now that we know what we're trying to shoot for with this video, let's begin.
Now, as many of you might already know, I am Irish. Díagwit agus Conas Táisce. That, my friends, was the Irish language, or as we call it, Gaeilge. But there's a small problem, because that language has actually been under severe decline for like the last 200 years for obvious reasons and less than obvious reasons. You see, the less obvious reason is me, and many kids like me growing up, didn't actually want to learn Irish, but I have since found that I really do. Not just for my own benefit, mind you, but also for the next generation. My daughter, I want to bring her up into an Irish school and I want to be able to help her with her homework. It's a super important part of our background, our culture, and Rosetta Stone has made it easier than ever for me to catch up. They've got this really cool new way of teaching that is all about dynamic immersion. Instead of relying on simple dictionary definitions, the app actually teaches you through context. How about that? Matching words with images and then building them into a sentence. It has been essential in helping me think in the language as I start to associate the words organically with what I'm seeing. And as someone that is learning an endangered language like Irish, I mean, a lot of places don't even carry the language in the first place, but for Rosetta Stone to actually present it with native Irish accents, that's a blessing in disguise, because I've used other apps that do not hit that mark at all. Which is important because their true accent tech compares mine against theirs, helping me to improve my pronunciation over time.
Tá siad ag cócaireacht.
Tá sé ag cócaireacht. Tá sé go húntaach, honestly. And yeah, one of the coolest parts is that it's not all tests and scoring either. There's a whole section dedicated to stories based on your current learning level. You not only get to learn more unconventional words this way, but it also offers up the ability to listen to longer sentences and even practice reading them yourself. Growing up, I felt like I'd really squandered the opportunity that was presented with me, but with Rosetta Stone, this honestly feels like a brand new chapter. Irish as a language is a rich part of our culture, an essential part, and one that I really want to keep the flame burning for many generations to come, so that I can pass it to my daughter and hopefully she could pass it to her children when she's ready. With 25 languages available right now, maybe it's time to reconnect with your own background or discover a brand new one. So, using my link in the description or clicking the QR code on screen, you can get over 60% off Rosetta Stone's unlimited lifetime subscription, so there's really no better time to join than right now. Just one payment and you're set for wherever your language journey takes you. Gurav Mila Mahagut Agus, Slongafol.
Kicking things off, the easiest fixes can be found with the visual continuity errors, stuff like Yamcha's broken leg or the countless coloring mistakes. Those are simple fixes. Other simple changes include scaling up Goku's Uzaru, not cutting Trunks' hair prior to the Cell games, and making goddamn sure whatever height you give Krillin, you keep that shit consistent. Additionally, while I'm sure that there are those out there that would want to edit the countless course corrections in the Cell Saga, I have to disagree. The chaos and uncertainty of that arc is part of the reason it's so iconic and enjoyable. I would just make sure that Trunks doesn't call Android 17 and 18 by the wrong names early on. Okay, so now it's time for more complicated ones. Tao's first fight with Goku. Okay, so I know I gave Tao throwing his pillar and it landing right in front of Goku coincidentally a lot of shit, but I do think it is a very hilarious gag. So the only change I'd make would be to give Tao a bit more of an accurate direction to shoot for. However, when it comes to Tao not checking Goku's vitals or person for the Dragon Balls, that's going to require a bit more creativity.
One day later.
Okay, I've thought about this for way too long, and I think I have something. The fact of the matter is, it's too convenient for Tao not to verify on any level whether or not Goku is alive. Even if he is super full of himself, Goku demonstrated enough during their battle to warrant special consideration. And so, now the question becomes, how do we get Tao to check Goku's vitals, identify that Goku is indeed dead, without killing our main character outright? Okay, I have got two solutions. One simple one, and another that's utterly insane. Let's begin with the reasonable and simple approach. How about, instead of Tao failing to realize he never stopped Goku's heart, he literally does? I mean, why not? Once he checks Goku's vitals and confirms that his heart has indeed stopped beating, he can exit the scene with complete justification, leaving behind the Dragon Ball he didn't ever really know Goku had. And through doing so, gives Upa the chance to perform some sort of resuscitation on Goku, thus restarting his heart. Perfect, right? That's the simple solution. Now it's time for the batshit insane one. In Season 3, Episode 1 of the BBC series Sherlock, stay with me, there's a scene where Holmes squeezes a small ball under his armpit to create an illusion for Watson, who is checking his pulse, that he is indeed dead. This sounded like utter bullshit when I first saw it. However, once I took to Google, it seemed that this has been a magic/science trick magicians or dishonest actors have been using for centuries. It works under the same principle as something like a tourniquet, where, in this case, a ball, when squeezed under the armpit, puts pressure on an artery blocking blood flow to that extremity, effectively removing the pulse for as long as you squeeze tightly. To help this not come out of absolutely nowhere, it could be a trick Roshi plays on Goku and Krillin during their training as a gag. So yeah, maybe Goku, realizing that Tao is too strong and that Karin Tower is nearby, decides to conceal the Dragon Ball Tao doesn't know about under his armpit and uses it to fake his own death, sort of like how Roshi did before. It is utterly insane and is sort of out of character for Goku on a number of fronts, but I thought it was funny to share nevertheless. Next up, Goku versus King Piccolo, Round 1. Seeing as the circumstances following Goku's defeat against King Piccolo mirrors in many ways his defeat by Tao, I'm gonna have to switch things up a little bit. Unlike Tao, who would check Goku's wrist, we can clearly see Piccolo check his heart instead. The pulse trick won't work in this instance, and more than that, I don't think Goku would even try. The whole point of Goku's role in this arc is to be an impulsive hothead that pays for it in the long run. Furthermore, the Dragon Ball Goku has at this point isn't concealed in his person, it's hung around his neck. Clear as day for Piccolo to see. Once again, I have two solutions in mind for this one, and I will begin with the simplest. With Goku's heart having stopped, Piccolo just leaves, like he does in the actual show, allowing Yajirobe to jump in and perform resuscitation techniques to kickstart Goku's heart again. I know, it's happened already, but it's a reasonable solution, and really it shouldn't be the draw of this particular scene. It certainly would feel a lot less random than Goku's heart suddenly and randomly starting up again. However, if you want a more cinematic solution, you could go with my second option. Having defeated Goku convincingly, Piccolo grabs the one-star ball from around his neck. Triggering a surprise attack from Goku, leveraging the little key he has left, he leaps to the side and attempts to get an angle of attack on Piccolo, only for the demon to comfortably dodge and mortally wound Goku in the process with an I-beam through his torso. Now, with the Dragon Ball in his possession, Piccolo has everything he came for. With Goku defeated and fading fast, Piccolo looks down to him with a smile as the young boy inches his hands over his face and says, "Yajirobe, I need a little help." Taioken! For those of you that don't know or don't speak Japanese, that's the solar flare. I feel sort of okay about this particular solution. It's already been established through techniques like the Kamehameha that Goku is able to mimic ki-based attacks incredibly fast. And given that Tenshinhan just used this moments prior in the Tenkaichi Budokai, I think it's reasonable that he could use it. And with Piccolo blinded, Yajirobe could potentially jump in to make the save and run off. Piccolo from there could just turn his attention back to the Dragon Balls, as he's not super concerned with Goku anyway, as he's probably just dead. He doesn't even know Yajirobe's there. And so from there, Yajirobe just takes Goku to the top of Karin Tower where... Oh god, I hate this. Oh, let me think. Alright. The issue with the Ultra Divine Water isn't so much what it does for the character of Goku, but rather why it wasn't used at any point before and just suddenly showed up. Why are we only finding out about this now? And so, this is my solution. What if, once Goku arrives at the top of Karin Tower and eats a Sensu Bean, Karin reveals that he quite literally cannot help him? That he's already offered Goku everything he can by way of training in the past. There's no secret training he's withheld from him, and certainly none that would make up the difference in such a limited time frame. However, as soon as Karin finishes explaining, the sound of a droplet of water falling into a container positioned in the center of the tower echoes through the air. Goku moves to investigate the sound, all the while Karin quietly says to himself, he could say something like that. In essence, this would be Karin talking to Kami, with the implication being he's kept watch of Goku during and following his altercation with King Piccolo and has deemed him worthy of the Ultra Divine Water, thus filling what was once empty with Karin, making it available to him for the very first time. From there, Karin can go on to explain how it works just like the manga, perhaps with the added detail that this was a gift, or rather, a test sent from above. The threat to his life is still very much there. The effects it has are still there. It's just been linked more directly to the will of Kami. And I think quite elegantly, this proposed solution I've offered also has the added benefit of partially fixing the whole Kami is concerned about Demon King Piccolo but did nothing argument some folks have. Alright, that was the one I was most concerned about. Pretty pleased with how it turned out. Now I'm going on to Goku versus Raditz's tail. So the issue with this one is, why did Goku commit to killing both himself and his brother instead of just grabbing his brother's tail again? I thought this one would have had a small and simple solution, but for the life of me, I couldn't really think of one. There's no reason Goku wouldn't just grab his brother's tail again. Heck, him being as worn out as he was in the manga by the time the second opportunity presented itself only advocates more for him grabbing the damn tail again. It's like Goku wanted to die or something. With that said, I am not going to suggest nor advocate for Goku surviving this exchange. The shot of Goku and Raditz biting the dust together is way too cool to pass up, and I'm not about to cancel Goku's jog to King Kai's either. So what is my solution? Well, the only way I can justify Goku leaping into a full Nelson would be to remove Raditz's tail entirely. Perhaps after Goku releases his tail, at some point in the fight, perhaps even via Gohan or other such action-related scuffle, Raditz loses his tail, somehow. Weakened by this, he still has enough power to kill both Goku and Piccolo, particularly since they're both fatigued and, one's missing a limb. And so this offers Goku only one option, and that's to tie up his brother like he does in the manga. It's a simple enough solution. I couldn't really think of anything else. Whatever. If you guys have a better solution, let me know in the comments. Next up, why didn't Vegeta help Nappa? To be honest, at first glance, I thought this was going to require some convoluted solution not dissimilar to the Tao scene, but then I realized a very simple solution was staring me right in the face. In the manga, Vegeta appears distressed to discover Goku's en route and far more powerful than they had initially anticipated. Feeling the pressure, he screams at Nappa to kill them all this instant, as all of them together could pose a threat with Kakarot in the picture. All the while, he, Vegeta, subsequently does nothing. The solution here isn't to involve Vegeta in the fight or have him easily kill everyone prior to Goku's arrival. That would be insane and change the course of the entire story moving forward. The solution I have is to simply remove the concern from Vegeta's voice when he orders Nappa to kill them. Maybe nix the line about Kakarot being a problem too, who knows. Vegeta's downfall against the forces of Earth came down to a stubborn belief that he didn't require the help of anyone to defeat Kakarot or the Earthlings. And so, given that that is who Vegeta is and what he believes and all that kind of jazz, I think to color his orders with this attitude in the face of this power reading feels in line with that story too. So yeah, my solution? Just give Vegeta a chill pill. It's fine. Who cares if Nappa dies? Who cares if they're all there? Next up, Gohan's tail regeneration. All right, so I don't really have much for this. It's kind of crazy. So the issue here is that Gohan's tail regenerates right at the very end of Vegeta's fight with him, out of nowhere. And so my solution to this is to rewind the clock during Piccolo's training with Gohan, and for Piccolo to, instead of discovering Gohan's tail has suddenly regrown during his training with him, have it suddenly regrow as Gohan is backed into a corner and low on energy. That way, there's at least precedent for what transpires against Vegeta. Heck, it could even be attributed to the human Saiyan hybrid Nappa referred to as a Super Saiyan earlier in the Saiyan arc.
English, motherfucker, do you speak it?
The spirit bombs can bounce. It might seem weird to think of this as like a weird writing moment, but there was really no evidence to suggest that you could bounce back a spirit bomb until right before. So here's my solution. Foreshadow this property of the spirit bomb or Genkidama during Goku's first demonstration of it on King Kai's planet right before he leaves. Goku could perform the technique exactly as he does in the manga, only once he throws it, King Kai moves the target to test Goku's ability at controlling it. He continues to move the target until suddenly King Kai himself is in the line of fire. Trying to stop the bomb in its tracks, King Kai raises one hand and smacks the bomb into the target himself. He goes on to explain that the spirit bomb can be deflected by those with good ki. I think that's simple enough. It doesn't spoil the conclusion of the arc, and it does act as some decent foreshadowing. Popo's magic carpet travel bullshit. I have a really simple solution for this one. How about Popo can't teleport with his carpet? I mean, the entire point of his carpet teleporting in the first place was to just transition the story to the next location faster. Plus, it was also kind of funny for Bulma to be shocked and all that kind of jazz. Popo didn't need to teleport, he could just fly there. Toriyama probably just thought it was funny and helpful. If it was in any way consequential, we would have seen it more than a single time in the series, so for me, I'm just gonna nix it entirely. Alright, time for the big Namek fish guy. This big dumb fuck shows up out of nowhere as their get out of jail free card on Namek. Funnily enough, looking back, I think it's clear that Toriyama wrote this exchange when he realized that he had written himself into a corner accidentally. He wanted Krillin and Gohan to realize Vegeta was on Namek while not alerting Vegeta himself directly. Unfortunately, by the time he realized that that's what he was after, Vegeta's fight with Dodoria had concluded and he didn't have any other option but boom, giant fish time! So, my solution is rather easy because I, again, have like 30 years of hindsight. Dodoria is chasing Krillin and Gohan after they saved Dende. So, why not have Krillin and Gohan realize it's Vegeta after he blindsides Dodoria instead of after the fight concludes? That way, Vegeta is distracted by the battle at hand against Dodoria, all the while Krillin, Gohan, and Dende are granted the time necessary to sneak away out of range. Simple. Almost as simple as Tarble. So I've got a simple solution for Tarble. Delete him from the story. No one will miss him. Not the story, not the special, not even his damn wife. And so with that annoying little one out of the way, we move into the final but by far the largest plot hole of the entire story, the Future Trunks arc of Dragon Ball Super's Spirit Bomb Sword. You might have thought that this would be an easy fix, but what if I told you that I have been working on this solution for almost a full year? This scene is so preposterously stupid with zero thought put into the reasoning behind its conclusion that I sincerely thought this would be really simple. Going into this video, I was certain that the Ultra Divine Water or Tao or King Piccolo were going to be the ones that caused me the most trouble. But this one is my nemesis because it has no obvious solution. It has no reasonable substitutions to make or straightforward fixes. I could just say, hey, let's change it to the way Toriyama did in the manga, but that's depressingly unsatisfying, number one. Number two, it changes too much. And number three, I wanted to see if there was a way I could make this Spirit Sword BS work. This scene, it confused an entire generation of Dragon Ball fans. For Trunks to accidentally use the Spirit Bomb would be like a newbie walking into a gym and accidentally qualifying for the Olympics. To say I hate this sequence would be an understatement. I spent months trying to find a solution to this one scene. I agonized over it for ages, until finally, I found the perfect solution. In fact, it's a solution that I was so proud of that I, in honor of the late great Akira Toriyama, decided to produce my very own manga chapter to present you all with. It's written by me, illustrated by some incredibly talented artists, and next week, I will share with you the solution we came up with and the insanity that was that chapter's production. Plus, thanks to our friends over at Team 4 Star, you will also get to see it complete with voiceover and sound effects. I look forward to sharing this tribute with you all. Be sure to subscribe if you don't want to miss it, and help us reach that 1 million milestone. It's coming up soon. But until then, I've been Totally Not Mark. Thank you so much for watching, and I cannot wait to share this with you all.